What's up, guys? Kamikaze Fox coming to you from SRL F1 2020 on the PS4 platform. And we are getting ready to do round 2 Bahrain here on season 6. And I've got good old Sam Brandt, former driver, joining me in the booth again today. Good morning, Sam. Good afternoon, depending on where you are.
Well, for me it's a good afternoon, but yeah, regardless of where you are. Hello to you as well.
And we are coming off of a very exciting round 1 at Austria, where things got a little heated on track. Tim Ventic walked away with the first pole position of the season, but it was Andrea Elatrella taking another win in his very short SRL career, followed by Jensen Randall with a hard-fought second place. And Nick Van Gelder, I think, with a little bit of a surprise podium finish in third. Tim Ventic had to make a recovery drive after some on-track altercations with Rennie van der Stappen. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But he came home 4th. Cameron Weston Edwards was 5th. Rennie van der Stappen 6th. Louis Quinlan was 7th. Dennis Carenchis had an up-and-down day, came home 8th, while Foons Van Houten was 9th. And Sandro Dulius, very disappointed with himself after the race, come home 10th. 11th, 12th, and 13th was Reese March, Robin Herderstag, and Jim Marusic. Dion Stahl had a disappointing day in 14th. Ivan Brito had connection issues. Hopefully he's got that sorted out for today's race, where he came home 15th. Colin Higgins was bringing up the rear of the field. He was the last car running in 16th, and the only DNF last week was Brian Power. I'm sure he'll be looking to make that up in today's race. But going back to the Rennie van der Stappen and Tim Ventic incident, Rennie was handed a qualifying ban for today's race for his spirited overtake on lap 1 heading into turn 2. I mean, we both kind of looked at it during the race that it was a bit of an advantageous move, but we all kind of enjoyed it and liked it. But Stewart's had a different opinion after the race. What's your take on Rennie's move heading into turn 1 after looking at it upon further review?
Well, it was discovered, afterwards, that it actually wasn't meant to be a move on the leader, which was Tim Ventic. He kind of outbraked himself, so he kind of said to himself that, or like set himself up for a penalty, so I don't really see too much controversy surrounding it anymore. But yeah, we thought it was an overtake. It really wasn't.
So Rennie outbreaking himself, but certainly Tim had some choice words for the incident after the race for sure. And we've already got some guys on the online chat here trying to cheer on good old Reese March. Got Clint Sadler joining us on the live stream, so always good to have fans. We'll run down today's driver lineup as it stands right now. I think we're waiting on a couple more drivers, but we got Sandro Dulius in the Ferrari, Foons Van Houten in the Renault, Dennis Carenchis in the Racing Point, and then Rennie van der Stappen in the McLaren, and then we've got Andrea Elatrella in the AlphaTauri, Reese March in the Haas, and Cameron Weston Edwards, who we weren't sure if he was going to be able to make the race today or not. He did make it, so good on that. He'll be in the McLaren along with Rennie. Louis Quinlan coming off of a good finish for him. Been a long time since he's finished an SRL race, so 7th place last week. He'll be in the Alfa Romeo. And then Luke Smith, Prying Stingray, the Australian, is going to be in the Ferrari today. Doesn't look like Dion's going to make the race. Brian Power's going to be in the Williams. Jan Holm in the AlphaTauri. Jensen Randall will be Red Bull Racing. That doesn't seem right, does it? He's supposed to be in the Mercedes, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I think it's just like last minute altercation. They just need to pick the right car, so yeah.
Robin Herderstag will be in the Alfa Romeo. Jo Marusic. Oh, there we go. Why did that switch? Now Jensen's in the Mercedes. Jo Marusic in the Red Bull, and no signs of Nick Van Gelder. Did I miss that?
Don't think so, no. I don't think he's in the lobby at the moment, as it seems.
That's odd. I'm sure we're probably just waiting on Nick. I'm sure he was on earlier. But heading into Bahrain, what do you expect out of today's race? More of the same from last week, or do we have another surprise winner? Or also notice that we don't have a Tim Ventic in the driver lineup just yet.
I don't know. I mean, it kind of depends on how people qualify, I think, because if we talked about Rene, he had a qualifying ban, so yeah, he's going to be starting from the back. He's one of the faster guys, so he's going to be cutting through the pack. That's going to be very interesting. And if more drivers that we would think are top drivers are going to be starting towards the midfield or even at the back, it could spice things up, but yeah, I'm kind of expecting something similar to Austria.
And with, as you said, with Rennie starting in the back, there's Nick. Nick joining in very late, but Nick will be in the Red Bull Racing. So, but let's talk about Luke Smith. Luke Smith, a couple seasons ago, was really a championship contender. Really struggled the last couple of years with the handling models of the new game. Haven't really heard a whole lot from him so far this year. Obviously, Australia time it's what, 1 in the morning for him, unfortunately, 4 in the morning, something ridiculous like that. But I mean, he could be a spoiler in today's race for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't really know, to be honest. As you said, we haven't really heard from him in a long time, so it's kind of hard to tell.
And Bahrain being what it is, this will be the first time in 4 seasons that there won't be a repeat winner, unless Sandra happens to walk away with the win. But Sandra won this race back in Season 1, and then after that, Francis McGinn went back-to-back Season 2, Season 3, and then Lewis Marshall went back-to-back Season 4, Season 5, so looks like Season 6, things are kind of up for grabs, and I don't think I saw Tim join, so that's going to leave a spot open on the podium for sure for possibly another surprise podium getter.
Definitely, but we'll have to wait and see, as you said. There could be some tricky situations, but we don't know.
And we've got...
and it seems like I have a tricky situation right now. I'm going to be right back, so you just do commentary at the moment.
And we do have Quentin on the live chat asking why everybody has their nickname, not their real name. It's their PSN name. I don't think the actual game allows you to display your real name in the game, so it is their PSN name. But I'll be sure to try and keep you in the loop with what driver is which one. We've got Sandro joining in on the live chat, so he says let's go. He's going to be looking for a good finish for today's race for sure. Coming off of a very disappointing 10th place finish last time out at Austria, but today we're in Bahrain. Doing an 18-minute short qualifying session followed by a 50% race. We've got 16 drivers for today's event. And missing is the big gun, Tim Ventic, last season's champion. And after coming home 4th last time out, he's going to be digging himself a bit of a hole by not being a part of today's Grand Prix. And we'll get some tire detail up for everybody, get the track map going. Lap data. And we had Clint Sadler come on the live chat saying there would be a 2-stop race for some of these guys. Softs to mediums, and right now it looks like everybody's going to be on the softs with the exception of Huntsman Houghton. Brian Power is going to be the first driver out. And just like real Formula One, he's the first driver out in a Williams.
Yeah, that's true.
Brian Power getting out early, trying to get some clear track. Brian Power, interesting guy. He's quite a character off the track. Unfortunately, he has struggled a bit on track. A lot of DNFs to his credit.
Yeah.
You raced with him last year. I mean, is it something... Does he just not have the knack for it?
I mean, no, I think he has... I mean, he has the speed for points on certain tracks, I would say. But more often than... Like, it just doesn't really work for him. He either ends up in a collision or something that is gonna, like, put a stop to his race completely or just damage his car. So he's very unlucky, but yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, I would say.
He did have some good mid-pack finishes last year where he was able to put some points on the board, but a lot of DNFs to his credit. And the other thing, too, it seems like a lot of his DNFs seem to be mistakes upon his own causing. He doesn't get caught up in a lot of wrecks with other drivers. It's usually by his lonesome, unfortunately, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of difficult, obviously, for me to just sit here and say that he is not as good as controlling his car, because I had quite a few coming together with him last season, unfortunately. The one that pops into my mind, like, first of all, is definitely Brazil, the last race, where, again, he was at the back, and that's where action happens, unfortunately. And when we say action, it's unfortunately not in the form of overtaking cleanly. It's more often than not just two guys just ramming into each other. And, yeah, he was caught up in that, so...
Well, Brazil's got that like it's very tricky turn one.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mix, I think, of his skill and also him just being very, very unlucky.
Well, 15 minutes left to play in the session. Nobody set a time so far. Brian Power should be the first one to set a time, as long as he doesn't invalidate his actual lap time. And that's a bit of a... Bahrain's got so much runoff area. I commentated for another league last week in IRS, the International Racing Series, and there was a lot of guys that were really pushing the track limits because the runoff here it's not really a penalty as far as possibly wrecking the car, destroying the car. You have so much runoff, and you see Brian sets a time of a 1:27.692, but Andrea 1:25.039. That's probably going to be the precedent to set. That's going to be your provisional pole for sure. Somewhere in the 125s, 124s, we'll see a couple of other guys come across. Jensen Randall, surprisingly, 2 seconds off of Andrea's time. And Jan Holm at a 128.063. And Luke Smith sets his first time of the season with a 128.444.
Yeah. But yeah, with the runoff and, like, corner cutting penalties or running wide and getting penalties for that. As you said, Bahrain, it doesn't really have a gravel trap or a grass patch where you lose grip. It's just asphalt or tarmac or runoff on the outside of the track. And especially in the last sector where you carry a lot of speed into the last two corners, running wide just on the line can gain you like between 2 or 4 tenths in both corners. So maximizing track limit is very crucial in Bahrain.
And we've got a couple of surprising faces up front. Louis Quinlan, the only other driver to crack into the 125s other than Andrea, is a 125.999, and Cedro Dulius went 126.112, but Andrea out in front by 9/10 of a second over Louis Quinlan. That is a huge gap to try and make up.
Yeah, it is, and I'm kind of surprised that, you know, the guys, obviously we haven't had Rene and Cameron. Cameron has set a lap time, actually. My mistake. But Rene, at the moment, hasn't really set a lap time. I expect them to improve most of the field, but as you say, it could be Andrea on pole position already on his first lap.
It looks like the only other driver to give him a good go so far has been Dennis Carenchis. And unfortunately, Rennie will be able to do an out lap to save his setup, but Rennie is going to be stuck in the pits because he's got that qualifying ban.
Yeah, that's true.
And then Klunsman Houghton is out on track right now. He's in Sector 1. Now, Rennie could run the alternate tire strategy and go from mediums to softs. A lot of these guys setting these times on softs, maybe with the exception of Jensen and Reese. Reese puts a good qualifying effort in 7th place so far. He's above Jensen Randall with a 127.457, so Randall way down the running order as well. So, bit of a mixed bag right now, really, in qualifying. I'm kind of surprised to see where some of these guys are.
Yeah, and yeah, as you say with Rene, the alternate strategy could work out for him. He just needs to stay out of trouble then, because obviously he doesn't want a one-lap, like a crash on the first lap if he's starting on the hardest compound. That is something you need to avoid, but definitely if he can make the alternate strategy work, he could do a one-stop and, you know, surprise everyone towards the end of the race.
Well, we certainly know Rennie, while you say he needs to stay out of trouble, he doesn't necessarily try to bring it on himself, but he's a fairly aggressive driver. We talked about that a lot last week. So, I mean, being overly aggressive early on in the race could cost him dearly. Rennie's not known for playing the long game, unfortunately, when it comes to championships.
No, and that is something that, as you say, could play a little bit against him. I hope for his sake that he realizes that he has a chance in this race if he plays the long game and just takes it nice and easy on the first couple of laps, let everyone else nap each other's front wing off and profit from that, if something like that was to happen.
So Fons van Houten does set a time, 9th quickest, 1:27.648. We're going to pick up Andrea Elatrella, the Italian who's going 1:25 flat. He's currently on an outlap, see if he can improve that time, but really 0.7 of a second to gap back to second place. I don't really think he needs to improve his time. 10 minutes left to play. I mean, you really need to leave it up to the other drivers to try and improve theirs.
Yeah, that's true, but at the same time, you kind of want to be out on track if someone was to improve massively. The likes of Jensen, maybe Nick or Louis. A surprise improvement and maybe topple Andrea. So he needs to be out on track to just make sure if someone gets close, he has another go that he can use. So
well, we're going to ride along with him. A little bit of a lockup on the right front coming out of the turn 3 area, but fairly smooth driving so far.
Yeah, and the thing with Bahrain as well is we often see quite a lot of lock-ups in the first sector, especially the first 3 corners, but also the downhill hairpin. But the thing is, if you lock up, it usually doesn't really matter for the tires because the camber of the corner is playing in your favor. So because you lock up the tires, just because you don't have the tires very close to levitating above the ground, basically. So when you hit the brakes, it's much easier to slow that tire down and, as you say, lock up. So, but it doesn't really do much to the tire wear in those specific corners. So it really doesn't matter too much.
Well, he's got a good run going, and coming down the front straightaway, 1:24.807. He has now got that gap back up to 0.9 of a second, and we did see Tim Ventic has joined the session. I'm not too familiar with the game. Is Tim going to have the opportunity to qualify?
I actually don't know.
And Tim has left the session, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Oh.
That's,
I don't think. Well, at least it wasn't like that on the last game. That if you joined mid-qualifying, you weren't able to qualify. You would start from the back, but you would get to race, and that is obviously where the points are dealt. So yeah. How
interesting and fitting would it be if Tim joined? He would have to start in the back with Rennie van der Staaf.
Yeah, that is definitely something that would be interesting. But yeah,
I shouldn't laugh, but I mean, I think every good racing series needs a good rivalry, and regardless of what Rennie may think about Tim has made his displeasure towards Rennie very apparent to other drivers. Yeah. So it would be ironic, I guess, is what you Brits would call it, for him to start in the back. I call it comical, but
yeah, that's true.
It would just be Tim's luck that Rennie has the qualifying ban, and you're going to make the race late, and you both are going to start in the back.
Oh, it seems like, I don't know if Tim is able to qualify. He appears on the timing tables.
It does say he's in the pits, and he did rejoin the session, so I'm not sure if he'll be able to join. And I guess the other thing, too, is we'll be able to make a setup. Meanwhile, Nick Van Gelder's out on track. We're watching him. He's just gone purple in Sector 1, so Nick's on a little bit of a tear here on some soft tires. And we've talked a lot about Nick in the past as well, and how aggressive he can be with his throttle. But really, in qualifying, go for broke and make them tires work as hard as they possibly can.
Exactly. I mean, you don't need to make the tires last more than a lap, so you can just torture them as much as you want to, because they only need to last a lap. And if you qualify inside the top 10, they only need to last the first couple of laps in the race, and then you just bin them. Like, you just take them off and you never see them again. So, yeah, I mean,
it looks like he's
driving style definitely complements qualifying, I would say.
Well, he does improve his time, but not his position. He's a 126 flat. Actually, that does bump him up into 4th. He was purple in Sector 1, but only went green in 2 and 3, so he wasn't able to keep up that pace mid-sector.
No, I mean, it also depends on his setup. We have to address that as well, because the sectors here in Bahrain are very different. Sector 1 is pretty much just straight line. There's 3 corners in Sector 1, I believe, maybe 4 if you count the corner at the top of the hill. And then you have Sector 2, which is very technical and very downforce demanding. And then you have Sector 3, which is just 2 corners and 2 straight lines. So, very different sectors. And if he has a fast setup in, like, with no downforce at all, it's possible that could have been the reason why he went purple in Sectors 1 and 3.
And we had another driver join the session, Damien 70B. Not familiar with who that would be.
No, me neither.
Not even sure he's supposed to be here, but...
Yeah, I have no idea who that would be, but you can say the good thing about SRL is that outsiders, if they for some reason do come into the lobby, which we have seen a couple of times, their finishing position does not count. So that means if, let's say, he was finishing in the points, he would just be deleted from the timings, and everyone behind him would get a boost to the position above them.
And Louis Quinlan just invalidated his lap time, and Reese March, unfortunately, it looks like he's had an issue on track, has retired from the session. And I know that's going to be upsetting for Clint, who's been watching along, cheering him on. So Reese March's time currently locked in at a 127.404, which is good enough for 9th as it is, but Foons Van Houten is on an out lap. Brian Power is on a... Brian Power's retired from the session, so he's had an off. So we don't have to worry about Brian. But Cameron Weston-Edwards, Luke Smith, looks like Rennie's on an out lap to save his setup.
Yeah.
But a couple of fast drivers there. Cameron Weston-Edwards and Luke Smith both could improve their times and bump Reese down the running order a little bit. Same could be said for Jurma Rusic and Foons Van Houten.
Yeah, definitely.
I just Clint showing his displeasure on the live chat.
Yeah. I definitely want to comment on Brian's crash, because it looked like it was in the fast uphill sweeping right-hander towards the end of Sector 2, which is also, I believe, turn 12. That corner has caught out so many drivers over the course of, like, in SRL for the last, I don't know, 2 seasons only. Like, there's been so many drivers that had cut or touched that inside curb, and if you do that, I mean, you're just going to be sent into a spin, and there's no coming back from it. So I think that's actually what Brian did, because I just rewatched his dot on the minimap. It kind of looked like he corrected an oversteer moment in that corner and just veered off into the barrier on the outside of the corner.
And for what it's worth, Clint pointing out that Tim Ventic did set a lap time, so Tim was able to get out on track and qualify. Tim's currently 125.991. He's able to get that in. Cameron Weston-Edwards has just gone purple in Sector 2, and now it looks like he's going to get a little bit of a slipstream help from his teammate. So down into the final quarter, Cameron is going to improve his time. He's currently 14th on the timing charts. Where's he going to come across? 126.899, so that bumps him up into 8th.
And a cheeky little strategy from McLaren there, because the rule says only that Rene, he cannot post a time. It doesn't say anything about that he cannot help his teammate improve his time. So very clever from Rene and Cameron there. So good job for them, actually.
And Tim off the pace, running wides. I think Tim's going to be satisfied with his 1:25.991. Time's going to be up. Cameron Weston Edwards set his time and called it a day. So we're going to pick up Jensen Randall, maybe the only other driver that might be able to give Andrea a run for his money.
Quite possibly, yeah. Could be.
He's currently on an out lap, and actually he may... he should cross the line with enough time. It's going to be pretty close.
Yeah, I don't know. That's going to be very, very close.
And, no, he doesn't. So, Jensen not able to set a time. Now it's putting him on timing and scoring. I don't know. I thought time was up.
I don't know.
Oh, big snap oversteer, and he invalidated his time, so it's all for naught anyways.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but that was kind of strange that he was allowed to set a lap time, it seemed like, or was allowed to give it a try, at least. Because, yeah, as you said, it definitely looked like the time ran out before he crossed the line.
So, Luke Smith not able to improve his time. He's going to be starting all the way in the back with Rennie Vanderstapp. Jan Holmes into the pits. Anybody still on a flyer? Here comes Jure Marusic. Marusic is 0.2 up on his previous time, so that would put him into the 1:27s. So he could improve his time a little bit, it looks like. That could get him into the top 10. He's now half a second up on his previous time. Runs very wide coming out of there. It invalidates his time. He was a half second up over his time. And unfortunately, that is going to do it for him. And he
that's the thing with those corners in particular. Ooh. Yeah. But yeah, definitely. Some drivers I didn't expect to see that far down in this qualifying. And likewise, some drivers I didn't expect to be that high up. Also impressed in this qualifying session.
Well, the most impressive, of course, is going to be Andrea Alatrella, your provisional pole sitter, 1:24.806. The only driver to crack into the 124s. And a shout out to Dennis Carenchis. Dennis was 0.7 of a second off, and still is really, but he was 0.7 of a second off when Andrea finally decided to extend that gap and break into the 124s. So Dennis giving it a good go, 1:25.586.
Yeah, that's true. And we have to remember, it doesn't really matter how far behind the leader you are, because when the start goes, you are going to be about 2 meters behind anyway, so regardless of how close you were in qualifying. So,
and Sandro improves his time to a 1:25.808, so that should be said, because that's going to drop Tim down to 4th. So Tim getting into session late, he's going to have a little bit of traffic to contend with. Louis Quinlan with a good qualifying effort up into 5th. Nick Van Gelder was 6th. Jensen Randall wasn't able to muster anything better than 7th. Cameron Weston Edwards 8th. Colin Higgins, shout out to him for 9th. And Robin Herderstagen, quiet day on qualifying, but gets into the top 10. Unfortunately, Reese March drops all the way to 11th after qualifying in 9th.
Yeah, that
Koens Van Houten is going to be 12th. So guys that are outside of the top 10 can run the alternate tire strategy to try and improve their track time or their track position through the first pit sequence. We'll see how that works out.
That's what I mean by Reese. I mean, it isn't necessarily a bad thing. It might actually be a better thing to start P11 than P10 because you have free tire choice and fresh tires. We have to remember that.
So Andrea Alatrella, Dennis Carenchi, Sandro Dulius, Tim Ventic, Louis Quinlan, Nick Van Gelder, Jensen Randall, Cameron Weston Edwards, Colin Higgins, and Robin Herderstag in your top 10. Reese March, Koens Van Houten, Jure Marusic, Brian Power, Jan Holm, and then Luke Smith and Rennie Vanderstapp rounding out the 16th and 17th. Obviously, Rennie wasn't able to set a time, but we know he's a very fast driver. Luke, I don't know if Luke's still trying to get a hold of the game or not, but trying to get a hold of the handling model on the game. 16th seems to be a bit of a disappointing effort on his part.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that kind of impressed me, though, is that the slowest car on track is only 3.3 seconds behind the leader. It is kind of impressive, in my opinion, considering that P2 was, 9/10 behind?
Yeah, 9/10 and 7/10 at one point, yeah.
So that means the rest of the grid is only covered by around 2.4 seconds. That's kind of impressive, I have to say. That is usually not that close in qualifying when we have everyone around. So good job to everyone, I would say, and yeah, a very exciting race ahead of us.
Bahrain usually does put up for some good online racing. As we've said, the past 4 seasons, it's always been a back-to-back winner. Francis McGinn, season 2 and 3 winner. Lewis Marshall, the infamous Lewis Marshall, season 4 and season 5. And really, I would have loved to have had Lewis in the whole season last year. I think he could have really made a good championship fight with Tim Bentic, but right now it's all about this season. We'll run down the running order. Andrea Alatrella with his first pole position of the season, coming off of a win last time out at Austria. He'll be closely followed by Dennis Karenchis, who did show some speed last week, unfortunately had an off late in the going, and came home 8th last week. He'll be looking to improve upon that today. And Sandro Dulius, who finished 10th last week, starting in the 3rd spot, would love to try and get a podium here. And then Tim Ventic going to try and work his way into a podium for sure, especially after coming home 4th last week at Austria. Louis Quinlan, good qualifying effort, starting in 5th. Trying to put some points on the board today. And Nick Van Gelder starting in 6th, see if he can work his way through the field, go back-to-back with podium finishes in the first 2 rounds. Jensen Randall, who came home 2nd last week, is going to have his work cut out for him starting 7th. And behind him is going to be Cameron Weston Edwards, who is always aggressive, always fun to watch. We'll see what Cameron can do today, try and work his way through the field, improve upon his finishing position from last week. Colin Higgins with a good qualifying effort. He was quiet last week, finished 16th. Starting 9th today in the points. He would love to try and finish there. And Robin Herderstegen in the Alfa Romeo, starting in the 10th spot, see if he can retain that position and maybe improve upon it, put some points on the board for Alfa Romeo. And then we've got Reese March and Poons Van Houding starting in the 11th and 12th spot. Jo Marusic is going to be in 13th, see if he can work his way through the field, maybe give his teammate Nick Van Gelder some help. And Brian Power, see if he can finish a race today, coming off his DNF last week. And then we've got Jan Holm starting in the back as well. And then Luke Smith starting on the hard tires, it looks like. In fact, the only driver to start on the hard tires. And then we have Rennie Vanderstadt with his qualifying ban, which he took very gracefully. He'll be starting in the 17th spot. So these 2 drivers, I think, are going to be ones to watch.
Definitely. Definitely.
And it makes me wonder, because Luke is a bit cheeky when it comes to his strategy. He's not always makes you wonder if he was sandbagging a little bit, wanting to get that hard tire setup, or if it was just a really bad run and has altered the pit strategy a little bit.
Well, I don't think anyone wants to sandbag so bad that they end up in P16, so I think it was more unlucky than anything else. So, yeah, either it's just a really poor display of sandbagging, or he was just very unlucky, but I'm going to go with the latter.
Waiting on the 5 red lights. Lights out, time to run with LeBrun. They're away in a puff of smoke, and it's a good start by Andrea Alatrella. He's out in front. Here comes Tim Ventic onto the inside. Ventic going to try and take a spot or 2 if he can. And look at this, Louis Quinlan up into 3rd, and he's got Ventic trying to go around him on the outside. Ventic takes the 3rd spot. Sandro Dulius drops a couple spots down to 5th, and here comes Cameron Weston Edwards all the way to the inside, trying to get around Nick Van Gelder and Jensen Randall. Meanwhile, back towards the front, Ventic is all over the back of Dennis Karenchis. And Andrea's already pulled out 0.7 of a second gap in the first couple of quarters. And Tim knows he's got to get around Dennis and get to the front to try and make a run at Andrea.
Yeah, definitely. He cannot afford to be sitting behind that racing point at the moment. He needs to get around him.
It looks like Colin Higgins is making a move to try and get around Nick Van Gelder. And look at Luke Smith. Luke Smith making a move up into 9th after starting 16th. And it looks like he's going to get around Colin Higgins as well. And now he's side by side with Nick Van Gelder. They almost touch. Unbelievable.
Really good driving. Really good driving.
Uh-oh, and it looks like Higgins is off, and he's gone around at the one lone gravel track on the frickin' track.
Oh, yeah. Seems like.
And he's going to let everybody go by. And a great start by Luke Smith.
Yeah, that was a lightning start, considering also he's starting on the hardest compound which is going to give him the worst traction of the 3 compounds out of the start gate.
But Andrea Alatrella, that we've got timing and scoring's a little screwed up on the game here, so it's showing Andrea 10th right now, but we know that's not the case. But Andrea looks like he's about 2 seconds out in front of Dennis Karenchis, and Tim Ventic is under pressure from Louis Quinlan, of all drivers. Oh, but Quinlan runs wide coming out of that corner, and now Sandra is going to bring the pressure to Louis Quinlan.
Well, there's a good scrap here for P2, actually, consisting of possibly 5 cars in a moment.
You see 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, all separated by about 2 seconds over each other. And Tim Ventic trying to make a move. He's all over the back of Dennis Karenchis again, so he lost a little bit of time last sector, or sector 3 of the last lap, but he's making it up here in sector 2.
Yeah, that kind of says to me that he has a high downforce, or higher downforce than the Racing Points, so he's gambling on the middle sector, definitely.
And Dennis Karenchis is snaking his way down the straightaway, trying to break up that slipstream, heading into the last corner. Bit of a twitch coming out of Karenchis' car as we ride along on board, and again, snaking his way down the straightaway.
But talking about Tim Venting, I also want to point out what has happened to Jensen Randall, the other Mercedes.
Oh, and dives to the inside. Is he going to outbrake himself? Crossover move by Karenchis. And man, Tim Ventic, last of the late breakers, and there's contact! And Karenchis is into the wall!
Oh no, not again.
Unbelievable. Yeah. We've got a virtual safety car, and that is very unfortunate. Karenchis had a good run. He was a bit off track. I don't know if Tim left him enough room. They made contact, and man, that was a hard hit.
Yeah, to me it kind of looked like Dennis tried to go for a move that really wasn't there. Turn 3 is not usually somewhere you try to overtake, and if you try to overtake, the overtaking car has to be on the outside most of the time. But as you say, that was very unfortunate for Dennis, because he was on. He had good pace.
He had really good pace, and you did mention Jensen Randall. Randall looks like he had pitted at some point for a fresh set of mediums, possibly had some wing damage, so he is way back, 25 seconds behind Reese March, with, unfortunately, Reese is 15th, battling it out with Colin Higgins, and Higgins has already had his off for the day, and looks like Reese March is going to get around him to pick up that position. We'll go back towards the front. Tim Ventic running in second. He's 4 seconds behind Andrea Alatrella. He's got Louis Quinlan behind him, Sandro Dulius behind him, Cameron Weston Edwards, and Luke Smith up to 6th place.
Yeah, he's had a lightning start, that Ferrari. I mean, you won't be seeing Charles Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel doing that in the Russian Grand Prix tomorrow, that's for sure.
And Louis Quinlan has caught Tim Ventic, I guess, down the straightaway with the DRS, and Louis Quinlan looking to make a move. Ventic's going to take the more defensive line. And look at Cameron Weston Edwards making a move on Sandro Dulius.
Yeah, this is, I mean, this is going to be a race-long scrap, as it seems, for P2, because now Cameron is inviting himself into the party, and Tim, he really doesn't want to have Cameron up there, because, as we discussed, it doesn't seem like Tim is very fond of any of the McLaren drivers, really. So
Tim has had some few choice words for the McLaren drivers, mostly Rennie, but we talked a lot last week about how aggressive Cameron Weston Edwards can be, and I enjoy it. You seem to enjoy it as well, but I think from a driver's perspective, when you have to race side by side with somebody like Cam, it's not anything you necessarily really want to have to deal with.
I mean, it does make him a driver that is feared, kind of, around the grid. I mean, I remember last season in Russia, he had an incident, I think, where he lost his front wing and he ended up behind me, and he was chasing me down towards the end of the race. I mean, that is intimidating when you see that McLaren driver just walking towards you with the biggest stride that has ever existed. So, I mean, they have personality and they have an aura that speaks, move out of the way, here I come.
Oh, and Quinlan had a big moment there. Oh, and look at this, Edwards is going to try and take advantage of it. And Edwards to the inside of Louis Quinlan, they're side by side. And it looks like Edwards has got the position. He gets out in front of it, and Tim's going to start looking in his mirrors going, I don't like orange cars.
No, I mean, and I mean, he's even Dutch. He likes the color orange, but he doesn't like that color orange. That car, he hates to see it in his mirrors.
And Sandro Dulius is all over the back of Louis Quinlan. Man, this is an unbelievable scrap. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and now seventh, as Nick Van Gelder has showed up late to the party. But he's now in the fold of this. All of these cars have DRS advantage over one another. Meanwhile, Andrea Alatrella is out in front to the tune of 7.8 seconds, almost 8 seconds over Tim Ventic.
I mean, this is the Truly train reincarnated. Like, this is amazing, this battle. And yeah, as you said, DRS, it's just going to make it more interesting every single time we come down that start-finish straight.
And Tim's really going to be the one as a sitting duck. Now, he's got a pretty good gap over Cameron Weston Edwards, but everybody behind Tim's going to have DRS advantage.
Yeah, and the slipstream.
And Van Gelder looks like he's trying to make a move on Luke Smith. Big lockup from Van Gelder, but Van Gelder's got the soft. You have to remember that Luke is on those hard tires and keeping pace with this pack.
Yeah, he's going to be a threat if he boxes for the mediums at the towards the end of the race. That is something we also have to remember. He's on the reverse strategy, going hard to soft or harder to softer, whereas everyone else is on the softer compound now, going to the harder compound.
And Sector 2 does seem to be where Tim can really try and stretch his legs a little bit. He, as you said, might be running that little bit higher downforce setup for Sector 2. He's been able to maintain that 0.7 of a second gap. And Edwards trying to snake his way down the short chute here on the DRS, break up that slipstream a little bit.
The interesting thing is also, with higher downforce, he's going to get better traction than the others, and he really needs that out of the final corner. And that's why we saw he bridged a small gap. It's not enough to lose the DRS, but it's enough to make sure that the McLaren can't pull up in front of him.
Meanwhile, Andrea is out in front to almost a 9-second lead, which is really, really impressive considering Tim's going to pit. Tim dives into the pits very early.
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
So Tim maybe trying to go for an undercut. I still feel that's very early for soft tires to be pitting. And Tim's going to switch over to the hards.
I don't know. He might be trying a one-stop from the soft to hard, maybe. But still, that's kind of early. I would expect it for him to go around lap 9 or 10. But, I mean, if he can make it work, it's going to be the call of the race, I kind of think, because it looks kind of weird, as you said.
I mean, for what it's worth, he did run a similar strategy last week when he had his incident and lost he had to pit early for wing damage. He did switch over to hards and ran them very, very late into the Austrian Grand Prix, so maybe trying the same thing here and work his way back towards the front under the pit sequence. That'll definitely be interesting to watch. Meanwhile, Rennie van der Stapp has just picked up the 7th spot, took it away from Funs van Houten. So Rennie, after starting deep in the field, actually starting last in the field, has worked his way up to 7th, but the battle still rages on. Now, Cameron Weston Edwards has been able to gap Louis Quinlan, but we've still got this 4-car battle now for the 4th spot.
I mean, if Rennie can keep this pace up, he could be, latching himself onto this battle that we're seeing right now. And that would really profit for him.
Oh, and a couple of guys are going to dive into the pits. Obviously, Luke Smith is going to stay out. Nick Van Gelder stays out.
That is interesting. Well, it does say that, if they're doing a 2-stop, obviously, the pit window, as we saw in the graphic, did open now, as Pirelli kind of predicts, but it still, to me, looks kind of weird.
Well, for what it's worth,
in this battle,
Clint Sadler on the live chat did say that this would be a 2-stop race for a lot of these guys, so Clint making the call early on, so good to have him with us. Brian Power just picked up a 3-second time penalty, but maybe Clint is onto something. Some of these guys are maybe going to run soft, medium, or soft, medium. I'm not 100% sure. We've got Dennis Carenchis on the live chat now asking how he can report what had happened to him. Hopefully, Dennis, you have some footage that you can submit to the stewards panel. That could be, and you can do that through the Hangouts app. You can send it to Sam, myself, Sandro. We're all on the stewards panel, so we will definitely take a look at it. And we do have some footage from the actual live stream, so you can still make the report. But the more footage we have, the better. So definitely something to consider. And the more angles we have, the easier it is to maybe make a decision. And in the moment, without having to go back and look at it, you had said that it looked like it was a bit of an advantageous move on Dennis's part, and obviously we haven't gone back to look at it a whole lot, but...
No, but from my initial thought, that the inside on turn 3 is always going to get taken away from a car that attacks, and he wasn't really that much... He only had his front wing, like, on the back wheels, so it can be kind of difficult for the defending driver to see it, maybe, but... yeah, as you said, more angles is going to give us a clearer view of what actually happened.
And in Dennis's defense, I mean, we were on board with Tim, so we didn't really get to see necessarily a good angle maybe leading up to that corner, per se, as to if there was any contact between the two drivers while we were on board with Tim leading up to that. So, I mean, definitely, no, exactly. Dennis, the more footage, if you have anything, by all means, send it. You can still make the report, and we'll review what we have. And yeah, it is very unfortunate. Dennis showed a lot of great pace early on in this race, and I was kind of looking forward to maybe seeing if he could, keep Tim behind him and see how Tim would handle that. But
yeah, definitely.
Oh, and Jan Holmes retired from the session. Has he gone off, or looks like he may have retired into the pits like a good lad? So that's too bad, Jan Holm.
Yeah,
the elder statesman of the group. Was looking forward to hopefully see maybe he could put some points on the board today, but so two drivers gone, unfortunately.
It is something we see quite often with Jan, unfortunately, that he doesn't really stay in the races, or but the good thing is that he retires in the pit lane, so he doesn't cause any chaos out on track.
Yeah, it's definitely the one thing I can say about Jan. I mean, he can be a good mid-pack driver, but he's never really had an altercation or a rivalry or anything like that. He's very much by the book driver, which I can certainly appreciate. And I know some of the other drivers can appreciate it as well. When you have a driver like Jan, you're not going to run into an on-track altercation. He's going to either stick to the racing line or give way because you're the faster car. And that can be kind of a nice thing to deal with, especially when you have another driver that's, the polar opposite, like Cameron Weston-Edwards or Rennie van der Stapp, that is not going to give you that leeway. As we see Luke Smith now closing up on Cameron Weston-Edwards, and the hard tires, I guess, starting to actually come in now. Because Cameron had about a 1.5 second lead, or a gap, I should say, over Luke Smith a couple of laps ago.
Yeah, it's still, obviously, the hard tires are always going to be better than the medium tires, but the drop-off, I would expect, is going to happen in about 4 laps' time. We saw the soft, Tim, he pitted on lap, what was it, 7, I think? And the others pitted on lap 8. So I expect the medium tires to be able to go maybe 6 or 7 laps longer.
And looks like Rennie van der Stapp is going to pick up the 4th spot as he gets by Andrea Alatrella. Andrea has pitted, and Andrea has pitted for another set of soft tires, so he's definitely on a 2-stop strategy. Looks like he'll probably go soft to medium. So Clint on the live chat would definitely call the race strategy early on for some of these front runners, and that's going to be kind of impressive. Andrea dropped from 1st to 5th, but he's already all over the back of Rennie, almost rear-ended him. And fresh softs over worn mediums, that battle is always going to go to the soft tires, and he goes around the outside of Rennie to take the 4th spot away.
Yeah, the only thing he needs to hope for is that the cars he needs to overtake are not going to be too difficult, like we saw with Rennie, because that is going to cost him time to Cameron when Cameron pits.
And Cameron going to try and hold off a hard-charging Luke Smith. Big props to Luke running this hard tire strategy after starting in the 16th spot up to second. And he had a lightning-fast start, as you said earlier. He gained 7 spots on the opening lap. So he's got the DRS advantage right now. He's not close enough to make a move, but it's going to keep him in touch with Cameron heading down this front straightaway. And Foons Van Houten has worked his way into third, and he's kind of running all by his lonesome. 6.5 seconds behind that battle, but he's 3.5 seconds ahead of Andrea. But Andrea is going to be coming on those softs for sure.
Yeah, and I think the best thing that Foons can just do is just not put up a fight with Andrea, because...
And we have got a 4-car cluster coming down the straightaway as Tim cuts across the nose of Sandro Dulius. I didn't mean to cut you off, but that was close, and Tim's going to take the spot away from Jurma Rusic. Whew, that was close.
Yeah, but yeah, as I was saying, I mean, Foons, he just needs to let Andrea go. Andrea has a pit stop on him, and he's on fresher tires, so there's no need to battle it. In the end, it's going to just cost both drivers in the long run.
And Andrea is now under a second to Foons Van Houten, but we're continuing to watch this battle for the lead. But we've got this 4-car scrap going on back here as well. And it looks like Sandro finds himself outside. Oh, and he just rear-ended. Who was that? Jurma Rusic trying to make a pass, and it's going to give him wing damage. Almost blew the corner.
Ooh, yeah. And that
there's actually almost more contact between the two.
Yeah, that was a misjudgment from Sandro, in my opinion. Like, that corner, it is very tricky, we have to say that, but still, that was a misjudgment by a long shot.
And while all this is going on, Rennie Vanderstapp's going to be taking over his teammate as Cameron Weston Edwards has dived into the pits from the lead. So that hands the lead of this race over to Luke Smith, and he's out in front of Andrea Alatrella by about 7 seconds. Now remember, Andrea's on them fresh soft tires, but Luke, realistically, about 7 seconds. How far does Luke run those hard tires? As he's gonna lose the lead to Andrea, but how much of a gap is he gonna lose?
Yeah, that's the thing, and also we don't know what his strategy is. He could be going very long on those hards just to take the soft towards the end, and that's going to give him the upper hand on Andrea when Andrea has to pit for most likely the mediums at one point.
So it's a chess match up front. Meanwhile, there's a lot going on back here in the back. We've got Nick Van Gelder. He's being pursued by Tim Ventic. Ventic is running in ninth. He's got a 3-second time penalty already to his credit. Jensen Randall trying to catch up to that battle. Sandro, unfortunately, he's going to have to ride out his wing damage until his scheduled pit stop. I don't think he's going to want to have to pit early and try and ruin what he already had going. So he's going to lose a lot of time running in 11th.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, as you say, you don't want to destroy your strategy just because you wrecked your front wing.
Now it looks like Nick has pitted and Cameron has pitted. We know that. They're both on hard tires. They're going to run them all the way to the end.
Yeah, there's no question there. I mean, that's a... Have they stopped yet? I don't think they have. I think that was their first stop.
Yeah, that was Cam's first stop. Nick pitted about 4 laps ago. And it looks like he's going to lose a spot to... No, he's trying to get around Tim Ventic. And he gets in front of him. And this is going to be close racing here. Now, Tim back to the inside of Nick, but Nick's got the DRS advantage, but Tim's got the a huge lockup on the right front from Nick. Trying to hold off a hard-charging Tim Ventic.
Yeah, and that cannot be easy. I mean, we know how fast Tim is. But all this is just really helping Cameron at this point. Because I think when Tim pitted, he was in front of Cameron, so he's lost a position there to Cameron. So, I mean, the first ball goes to Cameron. That's strike 1 to Cameron. Let's see if he can make it 2 or 3.
Meanwhile, this is all playing into the hands of Andrea Elatrella. So oh no, there's contact! Oh my goodness, Cameron Weston Edwards is out of this race, and it looks like he had contact with, was his teammate? Who did he have contact with? And that's a safety car. What happened there?
Yeah, I think Rene spun at turn 12 and was stranded on the middle of the track, and that left Cameron with no opportunity to miss his teammate, unfortunately.
And Rennie, we'll take a look at Rennie, and Rennie's going to die. And Rennie does have wing damage. That is unfortunate. We were just commentator's curse. You said the first ball went to Cameron, but unfortunately Cameron, oh my goodness. And it's the cardinal rule in racing, don't hit your teammate. Now this looks like it might have been a little bit unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything there. I think that was purely because Rene spun and Cameron just didn't have time to react.
And now this is really gonna... Does this alter the strategy for Luke Smith?
I don't know. He might go... I don't know. We have... It's almost half race distance. Or well, it's over half race distance at the moment, so we can't go to the mediums.
Well, Andrea has pitted for a fresh set of mediums. Foutens Van Houten, who's in fourth, pitted for a fresh set of hards. Van Gelder looks like he might have actually, I don't know if he's taken the opportunity to pit or if he stayed out. So Luke Smith is coming into the pits now.
That strategy from Andrea seems very strange, because I don't think those mediums can go to the end.
Well, it looks like Luke's going to take the gamble as well, and he is going to pit for a fresh set of mediums. So those two are going to line up. Meanwhile, Nick Van Gelder, he's still out on the hards. Foutens might be in the catbird seat here, because he's on a fresh set of hards, and we know that they can go all the way to the end.
Yeah, I don't want to rule out Nick as well. Even though he's been on 5 laps on those tires, they can still go the long distance.
Oh, now Nick's making the decision to pit now as well.
Oh, okay. Well,
and he's gonna switch over to a fresh set of mediums. So,
ooh, this is interesting, because you would not think the mediums can go to the end, but it seems like everyone disagrees at the moment, at least.
Well, we know Luke and Andrea had to pit to switch compounds.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you're going to have to switch compounds, you might as well take the gamble and see if you can run those mediums a long distance. Now, Funz, I feel like Funz is the only one that might be able to take advantage of this, because he switched over to hards, and he's going to be starting in the 3rd spot.
Yeah, and that's why I don't get with Andrea's choice of tires, because he's going to be having Funz behind him. Maybe Andrea is just gambling on that he can pull a gap early, and when the tires eventually go off, he's going to have a buffer that is going to be able to secure him the victory, if he can take the P1 away from Luke. But very interesting.
And Reese March on a fresh set of hards. Now, Tim Ventic, now here's one I don't get. Ventic on a fresh set of soft tires.
Nah, he's going to have to pit again, and yeah, as you say, I don't get it either.
Tim, maybe, it looks like we've got the nice Codemasters, the audible glitch there, as his car bounces off the rev limiter.
Oh, nice.
It's amazing to me that, that's a problem they had last year, and they still haven't been able to fix it.
And also with the timings at the start of the race, where it's just glitched. I mean, it was a problem last year, and they say this is esports ready. I don't know. I'm not so sure, but maybe me and Codemasters have a different understanding of esports ready, but I don't know. I have no idea.
So we're waiting for some of these guys to get into the safety car queue. Colin Higgins. Higgins, unfortunately, finds himself bringing up the rear of the field again.
Yeah, he's on mediums as well, though. So, but one driver this is going to help massively is going to be Sandro, because he had a broken front wing. He was able to pit, fix the front wing, and strap on a set of hard tires. He's in P10 now.
And you look at the tire detail, and it's really interesting to see the mixed bag of what's going on at the front. The top 7, for the most part, don't make any sense. And then you've got mid-pack, which are all on hard tires, which I think is where most of the battling is going to be taking place. Yeah, and then you have Tim. Maybe Tim's just going to go for broke and try and do a Schumacher four-stop strategy to get the win. It's run qualifying laps throughout the course of the whole race and hope you don't get called out on another virtual safety car or safety car for that matter.
I don't know. I mean, we're going to have around 10 laps to go. He's going to have to stretch those softs for sure. But didn't we see someone do that at one point?
Well, Andrea ran 8 or 9 laps. I think he ran 8 laps on the opening stint. We know Tim pitted very early. And and you know what? Tim might be onto something, because when you are under safety car, you're obviously not putting as much stress or temperature into the tires. So really, if this is going to go green with, say, 10 laps to go, really, because they're not racing laps that have been put on the tires, you might be able to stretch it. He might
that's true.
be onto something. I'm not the Formula One tire expert. I wish I had my buddy Eric with me, because Eric could really enlighten us. He was definitely a master. He's definitely a master strategist for sure. But it looks like you are right. We're going to come around lap 18. All the cars are in queue, so we should get the notification from race control that the safety car will be in this lap. So that'll be so come lap 19 of 29 is when we should go green again. And that's
10 laps to
10, 11 laps on a set of softs here in the high temperatures of the desert. It's going to be interesting to see what Tim can do.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing he has going for him is the car is lighter on fuel, so it's not going to wear as much as it was on the race start. But still, it's going to be right on the limits, in my opinion. But maybe he's able to do it, and he's going to prove us wrong. It's going to be very interesting, for sure.
And the other thing I really want to watch is this battle that's going to take place between Luke Smith and Andrea Alatrella. Luke, I mean, masterful strategy call on his part, starting on the hards, and I mean, he took the lead well before the safety car even ever came out. And I'm pretty sure Luke wanted to run those long and switch to softs, but he was showing amazing pace on the hard tires, so maybe Luke has the pace to keep up with Andrea.
Yeah, that's something we haven't really seen, because Luke hasn't been in a direct battle with Andrea without cars between them. Luke has been, possibly been held back by some of the other drivers, because we have to remember, the others were on softs and mediums. He was on hards. He was keeping up with them on harder compounds, so I mean, there could be a surprise in that Ferrari once we get green.
And there's the notification. The safety car will be in this lap, so Luke will become the control car. Good on him. And then obviously there's no passing before the start-finish line, so hopefully the guys abide by that rule. That could cost somebody dearly mid-pack, especially when you have somebody like Tim, who's going to be on the softs.
Yeah.
If he gets a little throttle happy and crosses the line ahead of somebody that he shouldn't, that could really cost him at the end of this race.
We could possibly end up with Mugello 2.0 if we're not careful. But it depends on how Luke wants to do this restart. If he's going to wait right until the line and...
No, Luke went early on and he pulled himself a gap.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he did that really well. That was really good.
And now we've got side by side. Look at that. Quinlan trying to hold off Nick Van Gelder, but Van Gelder's going to move into the 4th spot. You got a lot of shuffling going on in the back, though. Brian Power looks like he's lost a number of spots. Quinlan, big time on the brakes, tries to make the move, and a crossover move by Van Gelder to take it back. Woo! Quinlan tried to do a good old-fashioned NASCAR slide job, but couldn't hold the position. And Quinlan runs wide.
It was a good try, though. It was a really good try. Unfortunately, it was a little bit deep. If he hadn't gone,
and Ventic's making contact! Goes for the 2-for-1, and that was a bit aggressive. Really went shoulder blasting through that corner. Quinlan trying to come back on the outside. Looks like he's going to give the 2 positions back. So good on Tim. Oh, but Quinlan makes contact this time with Van Gelder. And that's going to open the door for Ventic to take that spot. Reese marches in the fold. Reese trying to find his way around Louis Quinlan. And here comes Jensen Randall. And a 3-second time penalty for Quinlan.
I mean, this is, as you said, Tim on softs. He's going to be charging towards that podium. That's for sure.
And Van Gelder going to try and start closing that gap into Fons Van Houten, but here comes Tim Ventic.
Yeah, I think Nick would just be better off just looking in his mirrors right now, because that Mercedes is not going to back down.
And here he comes. He's all over the back of him. Side by side with him, down into the next corner. And Tim should easily be able to outbrake him. Oh my goodness, look at Nick trying to hang tough on the outside. And they're still side by side here. Woo! And
This is a good battle.
Nick prevails. Nick prevails for the time being. Unbelievable driving and defensive driving from Nick Van Gelder.
Yeah, definitely. I want to point something out, though. Look at the gap between Luke and Andrea. It's growing at the moment.
Yeah, almost 2-second gap now for Luke Smith. He has stretched that out a little bit. But watching this battle here between Tim and Nick. Meanwhile, Fons Van Houten is probably loving this. He's really hoping something happens in the back here. He wants to hang on to that podium position.
Yeah, definitely. That would, I believe, be his maiden podium.
Still got a long way to go in this race.
Yeah, he has 9 laps. Almost 8, but, I mean, Tim and Nick battling. Possibly letting the cars behind them into the battle. That's going to help Fons a massive.
Well, Fons Van Houten snaking his way down the front straightaway, trying to break up that slipstream.
Yeah, this podium position is up for grabs for everyone, as it seems. I mean, it could be anyone.
And right now, the DRS hasn't been enabled, to the best of my knowledge. Doesn't look like anybody had the slots open. Now it looks like we might have some... Oh, and Tim all the way to the inside. He does get in front of Nick, but he almost took out Fons, and Nick with a big wiggle coming out of that corner trying to get that power down. And it looks like Nick's finally going to have to give up on that battle and start playing defense, because Louis Quinlan is starting to breathe down his neck.
Yeah, definitely. The good thing that all of these guys have going for them is that possibly Tim needs to box again.
Oh, and then Tim outbreaks himself big time. And somehow gets the DRS advantage coming out of that corner. That kind of interesting.
I mean, this battle.
And as you said, will Tim have to pit again, because he's on those soft tires, and obviously he's definitely put them under some stress. We talked a lot about being under the safety car and the lighter fuel load and wouldn't be as much stress on the tires, but he is certainly working them to the limits as of right now. And he's got a 5-second gap to make up just to get to Andrea, and then Andrea's got a 1.5-second gap to make up to Luke.
Yeah, I don't know. He's, as you say, he's working those tires super hard. I don't think they can go to the end, but he could surprise us still.
And a shout out to Fons Van Houten. He is holding off Nick Van Gelder for that 4th spot. So Fons playing a very good defensive game, trying to break up the slipstream, and it's making life difficult for Nick. And Nick has got Louis Quinlan just hounding him as well. So yeah, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, they're all running together. Reese March bringing up the rear of that battle. But he's going to have DRS advantage next time around, so he's looking to possibly make a move on Jensen Randall.
Yeah, I mean, if they keep battling, Rene, he's only 3.1 seconds behind Reese. But it seems like he might have enough in Sandro Dulis at the moment.
He's got his hand full with Sandro trying to get by him. So you got Nick trying to work his way around Fons. You've got Jensen Randall trying to work his way around Louis Quinlan, and they make contact heading into the corner. Randall to the outside. Quinlan doesn't want to give it up that easily, but looks like he is not going to prevail. And Jensen is going to take that 6th spot away. Meanwhile, Nick's still wondering, what the hell do I got to do to get around Fons Van Houten?
Yeah, he needs some VTEC in that Honda power unit, because it doesn't seem like it can blow past that Renault engine for some reason.
And again, Nick all the way to the inside. He baited him, made him think he was going to go outside, and took the inside line. Funes is going to try and do the crossover move to get it back, and he's going to make a little bit of contact with him. Funes has got a good run coming out of the corner. Now they're side by side down the straightaway into the next corner. Nick's trying to squeeze him down to the inside line. Funes has got it. He can't hold it, and now here comes Jensen Randall. And Nick's got the position. And Colin Higgins picks up a 3-second time penalty. That's going to be inconsequential to him right now. And now Randall to the inside. He thought about it. Couldn't take it away from Funes. That was a hard-fought battle. Nick finally prevails in the end of that. Meanwhile, Andrea is now in DRS range with Luke Smith, so the battle for the lead is on here on lap 23 of 29.
It was also interesting that they have just pulled away from Tim. Like, Tim has nothing on them, it seems.
Yeah, Tim is still losing time to these guys.
And he's on a softer compound. Arguably, the tires are going to be going off now, but still, I mean, they've just left the rest of the field.
So Andrea's got the slipstream, he's got the DRS, he's closing in on Luke Smith. Not close enough to make a move this time by, but he'll be close enough at the next DRS range. Luke is a little wide in that corner. And Luke's really just got to run his race and hit his marks at this point.
Yeah, I think he's going to be happy with the podium. We have to remember he started, what, second last?
He started in the 16th position. He hasn't been in a race this year. He's a reserve driver, so, I mean, it checks all the boxes that he should be happy. But obviously, you always want to walk away with a win, but a podium finish would not be a bad thing for Luke Smith.
Regardless of what happens, he gets my driver today, that's for sure.
And Reese March has worked his way into the 8th spot. He's battling it out with Louis Quinlan.
And Sandro as well, so they're taking Rene. So Rene has just really not made it work today, for some reason. All the pace we saw in Austria, it's just been nowhere, it seems.
Yeah, Rene obviously had the qualifying ban. They didn't play the strategy right. I mean, he had a spin, obviously. It was the cause of Cameron Weston Edwards' crash in the safety car, so Rene definitely struggling a little bit today as we ride along with Andrea, is locking up them tires big time. And you see him playing with that steering wheel. It looks like he's really trying to work that fuel flow, trying to switch it from, rich to lean and lean to rich, try and get some power into the car.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, drivers today, they don't have to worry about ERS modes because it's only overtake or nothing. I mean, you can't flick it into like medium, high, overtake or like hot lap. You can only do overtake, which is like, it's only a few seconds it's gonna last, but with ERS out of the window, fuel is the only thing that drivers need to worry about now. So, as you say, he's really working on how to use the fuel wisely.
And it's now 25 of 29. We've been riding along with Andrea now for a couple of laps now, and he hasn't been able to make way. Rennie Vanderstappen making a pit stop to switch over to soft tires. That's going to drop him to 14, and I don't think Rennie's going to have enough time to get back into the points. That's an interesting move there. And
yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys do hand out the bonus point for the fastest lap, but don't you have to be in the points in order to get that bonus point?
Yeah, that's true. It's exactly like Formula 1 in real life. You can get a point for fastest lap, but as you said, you have to be in top 10.
And Andrea's got a run coming out of that last corner, blows by Luke Smith. Like Luke was sitting still.
Yeah, I just saw on his steering wheel there, he was running overtake, he was running everything that Honda engine had. I mean, that was VTEC and Eurobeat, everything. It was just full drift mode. I mean, that could not have gone any faster, that Honda engine, so he's back into the lead.
Reese March has made the pass on Funes Van Houten for 7th, so Reese finds himself up into the 7th spot. For Funes coming back to the inside, and he almost makes contact with him.
Yeah, at the moment I think Reese he needs to be happy with what he gets. We have to remember he didn't get any points last time out, so he's going to be putting some points on the board, both for himself but also for Haas. So that's really appreciated from Haas, I would imagine.
Well, you were his teammate for the past couple seasons, and I know you've been in Haas for a long time, and obviously taking a bit of a sabbatical this year with university and school and whatnot, but I know you're probably cheering him on to put some points on the board for Team Haas. And Reese is just such a nice guy, and he's fun to be around, so it's the closest battle we had on track.
Yeah, definitely. He is a very nice guy, and he's also very calm. But he's a very strong racer. Formula One may not be his top, discipline, but that just shows that, I mean, in other disciplines he has so much more pace, but he's still a good Formula One driver, for sure.
And we're riding along with Sandro Dulius. Looks like he's looking to make a move on Funes Van Houten, and Funes unfortunately started third when the safety car went in. He's going to be probably pretty disappointed with himself, falling all the way back to 8th, and looks like he's going to even fall back to 9th at this point. So Funes trying to run that hard tire strategy. It didn't quite work out for him.
No, it seems like it didn't really give him what he thought it would give him, and it's not like everyone else just flew past him because they had better tires. They have the exact same tire on the same exact lap count, so it's just really been unlucky for him.
Now, the one thing that we may want to start watching is Tim Ventic is running in third. 11 laps on those soft tires. Nick is starting to close in that gap. It's now down to 2.2 seconds. Nick's got 10-lap-old medium, so Nick could be finding himself in the podium position again, because it looks like the tires are definitely starting to fall off for Tim, and they're coming in for Nick, so...
Yeah, I mean, they've gone, as you say, pretty much the same distance. In fact, Tim has gone longer than Nick, so that even plays against Tim even more.
And Tim's got 2 more laps to go on those soft tires. Meanwhile, Jensen Randall says, I'm not done with Nick, as he's trying to close in that gap. It's back to 1.4 seconds. But Nick is just taking a huge chunk of time out. That's 1.5 back to Tim. Tim is struggling on those softs at this point.
Yeah, and the worst part is it's not even the most narrow section. I mean, Sector 2 is where we're going to see possibly he's going to struggle big time.
Which is really unfortunate, because Tim's been probably the strongest driver in Sector 2 all day. That's really where he's made up most of his time. It's been his bread and butter, but right now, I mean, Nick is coming. Nick is coming with a head of steam. He's 1.2 seconds back, and he's going to be in the by the time they get back to the start-finish line, he's probably going to be in the DRS range, which really is only going to give Nick 1 lap to try and make it work.
Yeah, but the thing is, he has 2 DRS zones coming right after each other. If he can get a really good run through the last couple of corners here, get into DRS, pull a little bit closer, get a good run out of the first corner complex, he could have him by turn 4.
And Tim looks like he's trying to spread that gap. It's now fluctuating between 1.2 and 1.5, so Tim sees him in the mirrors. I guess he's trying to play with the fuel a little bit, but Nick's got a good run coming out of that corner. He doesn't have the DRS, but he can still use the slipstream.
That's the thing. Tim avoided the DRS down the start-finish straight because he was just ahead in the activation detection.
But he lost a big chunk of time. He's got the DRS this time. Final lap of this race, and we're watching the battle for the podium here. Nick trying to close in. He's now 0.6 of a second back. Looks like Sandro's finally going to get around Funes. Now they're still battling side by side, but we're going to stick with this battle here for third. Does Nick have anything for him?
Nick just needs to put it up into maximum, because he just needs to get past. It's a one-time opportunity, I think, coming out of the last corner or something like that.
Ooh, the big lock up there, but he's trying to get into the DRS range. He's got the slot open. He's not going to be close enough to make a move, but he'll be close enough maybe to make a move down the back straightaway. Ooh, the big lock up. He's going to swing it a little wide.
That could just have saved Tim's podium there. Obviously,
it's going to be close.
there's still penalties we need to account for at some point.
That's true. We do know Tim has at least one 3-second time penalty. Does Nick have any? Andrea's going to cross the line as your winner. Luke Smith is second. And down to the inside, Nick stuffs it in there. They're side by side. Tim's on the backside. And Jensen Randall walks away with the podium because of timing penalties.
Oh well, the third man we didn't account for ended up taking the podium. Oh wow.
So now Nick is going to get credited unofficially with fourth. Tim down into fifth. These obviously unofficial results. Reese March, sixth place finish for Reese. Good to see that. Sandro works his way up into seventh. So good on that.
Yeah. I mean, again, we have to talk about that last corner move. That looked very similar to something we saw on lap 1 last in Austria. And it is very difficult, but a very good try from Nick. You have to give it to him. He went for it, and seems like it paid off for now. As you said, unofficial results.
So I'm sure there'll be some discussion after this. Luke Smith, driver of the day, and I think we can all agree with that after starting in the 16th position, walking away with a podium finish in second. But for the second week in a row, it's going to be Andrea Alatrella with the win. And we talked about it in preseason, how he showed a lot of speed and promise in the couple of races that he had last year, and thought he might be able to take the fight to Tim Ventic. And Ventic here in the first couple of rounds, I think Tim might be feeling a bit frustrated, not able to get a podium. And, even for what it's worth, even if Nick does get a post-race penalty in any capacity, because of the in-game penalties, Tim's still not going to get a podium finish. So here's your unofficial results.
Oh, that's true.
Andrea Alatrella with the win. Luke Smith is second. Jensen Randall third. Nick Van Gelder fourth. Tim Ventic is fifth. Reese March sixth. Sandro Julius is seventh. Louis Quinlan is eighth. Funs Van Houten is ninth. And Jurma Rusic rounds out your top 10 points-paying positions. Brian Power is 11th. Robin Herderstacken is 12th. And then Rennie Vanderstapp is 13th. Colin Higgins bringing up the rear again, unfortunately, in 14th. And then 15th through 17th is all DNFs. That is Cameron Weston Edwards, Jan Holm, and Dennis Karenchis. And, we talked about it. We said today would be an exciting race. I really wish actual Formula One was this exciting on a normal basis.
You would at least hope that it would be this many teams fighting for a podium. That would be very nice. But, very exciting race.
So this has been round 2. Now, you can catch us again in a couple weeks where we'll be off for round 3, which is... I don't know which track.
Yeah, I'll just check up. But I mean, if you have to say anything for Andrea, he's almost on max points after 2 rounds. The only reason he doesn't have max points is because Rene managed to take fastest lap today. But obviously that's not going to count for anything. But Andrea has just raised that bar so high, and if anyone wants to catch him, they need to find something that I don't even think is possible. Frankly,
I think Tim probably still has the speed to do it. He's definitely had some bad luck in the first couple of rounds, and because we do know Tim is young, I wonder if he'll succumb to the pressure a little bit of trying to close that championship points gap. And I think the viewers should know that this is I don't think we've ever really talked about it, but it's not all for naught. SRL actually does provide the driver of the championship with a very nice trophy at the end of the season. Yeah. I've seen Nick's trophy, and it's for online racing. That's really nice trophy. So it's not all for naught. The guys are actually racing for something, and I know Tim has one. Tim would love to back it up again and get a second one, but.
And the fact is, if he were to do that, he would also become the first driver in SRL to take 2 championships in Formula 1. No one has ever done that, and as it seems right now, it doesn't seem like Tim is going to do it, but he still has a long season ahead of him. But at the moment, Andrea, he's set his sight on that trophy, that's for sure.
And that's definitely the one thing we can say. The SRL, the season is going to be all 22 tracks.
Yeah.
And obviously we're racing every other week or so, so it's going to be extended. It's going to be a months and months long battle, like a proper Formula One season, which I think is kind of nice to see. A lot of online leagues do, very like a half season or very rushed season, week in, week out. So this is definitely something we're gonna see materialize and continue over the course of the next few months. But the couple of opening rounds, Andrea's really showing some prowess.
Yeah, and with the tracks that's coming up, which is Australia, Albert Park, the 3rd of October. I mean, that track, we've seen some really good races there in the past in SRL. And then, of course, we have a gap for the LMP1 series, which is going to start up on Gran Turismo Sport 24th of October. And then round 4, which is the Chinese Grand Prix, the 7th of November, which is also a track, especially last season. Not going to say why, but we had a really exciting race there last season. So the 2 tracks coming up, I mean, that is we could have some really interesting races on our hands.
Yeah, and as you said, Albert Park has really provided a lot of good racing with SRL over the seasons. The one that really comes to mind for me, I think, is season 3 with Bart Godelda. I mean, just an amazing drive. That race, I mean, he was leading, he lost his internet connection, managed to get it back after the car fell all the way through the field, and managed to make I mean, just the last lap, literally the last corner, and take the win. That was a really fantastic race, and I was still in my very early age of calling races, so it was exciting for me. So, but just to touch definitely. The Gran Turismo Sport, that series is going to be kicking off on the 24th. It'll be the LMP1 series, and I think you guys have elected to do Classic and the newer cars on the same class. That should be kind of interesting.
Yeah, so obviously there's not many modern LMP1s in Gran Turismo Sport, so we've decided to mix them with the vintage LMP1s, so the likes of the Jaguar, the Mercedes Sauber or Sauber Mercedes. I don't know what way around it goes, but yeah, it's going to be very interesting, I think. Obviously, I'm going to be doing some commentary there, so that's going to be very interesting. And then we also have the GT3 Championship, which last season, it was very interesting, I have to say.
Now, last season it was on Project Cars 2. This year it'll be on Gran Turismo Sport, but I think all in all, Gran Turismo Sport, IRL did it for a few seasons, and it did make for some good racing. And I do like the mixture of the LMP1 cars, because the vintage cars, they've got different strengths than the newer ones, and it'll be interesting to see, a Sauber Mercedes racing alongside the likes of a 2016 Porsche LMP1 Le Mans winner. So
yeah, that's true.
So good times to come here in SRL. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment to the YouTube channel and get caught up on all the previous races. And you can check us out on Instagram. The description is down, or the link is down in the description. And I believe the internet, the link for the website is down in the description as well.
Yeah, and you can also catch on the website. Obviously, you can catch up on the standings of the championships. You can catch up on what races are next coming up. So. And obviously we don't have every single race fleshed out at the moment. At the moment we only have until the new year of 2021 planned. But we definitely have something planned for the next couple of weeks, that's for sure.
So guys, be sure to check us out next round in a couple weeks when we'll be at Albert Park in Australia. I'm Kamikaze Fox. This has been Sam Brandt, and I certainly hope everybody enjoyed today's race. We will see you all at the next round.